We are quite grateful that Somalia has increasingly stabilized under the new leadership. We have hope, we are confident that peace and security will soon prevail in this great country. I would like to thank our distinguished and dear Dean, Ambassador Bridget, for hosting such a gracious occasion. And looking forward to the discussion that will follow. And without further ado, because sometimes we diplomats, we are like politicians. When you are given a mic, you don't know where to stop. But allow me to end here by welcoming you again. And I was also pleased to meet the Madame. She comes from our region. Of course, you're also from region, but we share something very much in common. And allow me to end that as a native of Tanzania to say to you all, karibuni sana. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you, Ambassador Willamilla, for that very generous introduction. My name is Ambassador Brigady. I'm Dean of the Elliott School of International Affairs, and we are delighted and deeply honored to host with us today His Excellency Prime Minister Xasan Cali Khayre, the new, duly elected, democratically elected Prime Minister of Somalia. Before I give you a full introduction, if I can just take just a moment to say, I have actually, as I was telling the Prime Minister, I've been to Mogadishu once, just in the airport for a few hours. I spent a fair amount of time in Eastleigh. I have spent weeks of my life in Dadaab refugee camp. I've also been in Minneapolis. So I've been in all of those places. One of the things I will never forget, during one of my trips when I was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for refugees, I was sitting talking with a group of Somali refugees in Dadaab refugee camp, and I said, what can I do for you? What further assistance can we provide? And this gentleman said, just help us bring peace to our country so that we can go home. And now, for the first time, literally in a generation, Somalia has a democratically elected government with strong aspirations, not simply to turn the page of its history, but to turn it into a way that allows a next generation of Somalis to know nothing but their country at peace with itself and prosperity for its citizens. And in that regard, we are delighted to hear the vision today of Prime Minister Xasan Cali Khayre, who was appointed as the Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Somalia on March 1st, 2017. The Prime Minister holds dual Somali and Norwegian citizenship. He also speaks fluent English, Somali, and Norwegian, which is perhaps his most tremendous feat, I must say. The Prime Minister pursued his undergraduate degree from the University of Oslo. He graduated with a degree in political science and economics and a minor in sociology, all of which become in handy in his current position. He then went on to complete a Master's of Business Administration from Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh, Scotland. Prime Minister Khayre joined the Norwegian Refugee Council in 2002, where he rose in positions until he was Regional Director for the Horn of Africa. He later moved on to work in the public sector and joined Soma Oil and Gas, a private company in the United Kingdom, until he took his position as Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Somalia. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the podium His Excellency Prime Minister Xasan Cali Khayre.
Thank you, Ambassador. So I'm not sure which one you prefer, Ambassador or Dean. It's a good companion. But what a warm reception. That's been very good that those of us far from Somalia and somewhere in Africa are recognized here. We're very grateful for solidarity. I just met the ambassador. It feels like as if we've known each other for many years. I don't know if it is because the 2 hours you've been in Mogadishu airport, or or it is indeed we share some culture, heritage, and values. But all of you, we're very grateful that you could come and listen to us. We value whoever is interested to learn, know, and provide support to our nation, who finds itself in a critical juncture at the state. So today I will just share a few remarks with you, but I hope we will have after this session friends in these corners of the city. So I would like to express first my appreciation to the leadership of this university and for the invitation that has been extended to us. George Washington University is a world-renowned institution, and although I have discussed a little with the ambassador while I was here, I came to learn that the most notable exploits remain in the field of international affairs and government. And as you could tell from the title of the dean himself, they know a lot about diplomacy. But I would like to begin here today by telling a story from my country of what was once has been the shining light in Africa, a country that was amongst the first to gain independence, a country that had one of the strongest and largest army in Africa, a country that was the voice for the voiceless in the continent, to the extent that its leaders characterized Somalia's hard-fought independence and freedom as meaningless and futile, since their brothers and sisters suffered under the brutal apartheid regime in South Africa, and in this regard called African states to action. Yes, I'm still talking about Somalia. My story is of a people so brave, so intelligent, so proud. In his book, The Warrior, Gerald Haley, who spent some time in a colonial Somalia, describes Somali as the, and I quote, bravest, the friendliest of African peoples and their natural intelligence, second to none. He added, and I quote, once the education factories start working among them, they should surprise Africa and themselves. At that time, the author was confident that if Somalis had managed to overcome centuries of mayhem, they could transform into a prosperous modern state. And that we did. For many years, Somalia enjoyed the fruits of independence, democracy, and prosperity. Having produced some of Africa's first democrats, Somalia continued to play the older sibling to many of the emerging democracies in Africa. This history of Somalia is largely untold, and for the most part overshadowed by the stories of despair and destruction. Indeed, Somalia's story is not complete without recounting its difficult past. The protracted conflict, as well as the man-made challenges and natural disasters, resulted in the destruction of social, economic, and political infrastructure. For many years, widespread insecurity, breakdown of law, order, and institutions, poverty, weakened governance and community structures, massive displacement and migration defined Somalia. Today, Somalia and Somalis find themselves and itself at a critical point in the course of its history. After nearly 25 years of war, Somalia is increasingly stabilizing. The resilient people of Somalia have charted a new path away from violence, poverty, and instability, and towards a brighter future. On 8th of February 2017, the Somali Federal Parliament elected His Excellency President Abdullahi Mohammed Farmajo as the 9th President of the Federal Republic of Somalia. The democratic process that characterized the elections and the subsequent peaceful transfer of power was applauded, further placing Somalia firmly on the path towards re-establishing its democratic institutions and towards a more robust electoral process in 2020. Though our administration now and the cabinet I lead is only 7 months old, the challenges ahead are vast and the expectations of our citizens are high. As such, we pressed for time to deliver tangible results to our population and at the same time find solutions for the protectorate as well as emerging challenges. With everything being a priority in our country, there is a general consensus that focus should, among others, be placed on improving security, strengthening the rule of law, addressing corruption, ensuring public service delivery, and responding to the needs of drug-affected populations. To implement our ambitious agenda in Somalia, our leadership is guided by the principles of inclusivity and broad participation at all levels, including of women and youth, as demonstrated by the current cabinet I lead. With regards to the federalism, our dedication to the effective and inclusive federal governance is our understanding that our democracy is only as good as it is a respect for the rule of law and the diversity of the interests that it represents. Law and policy development are key among our priorities. In this regard, we have fast-tracked several crucial legislations, while others are currently being developed. We are continually building on this system of federal government that was established as early as 2004, and our efforts are focused on reinforcing healthy governance, the establishment of our National Security Council, which brings together federal states in a forum that allows for national deliberation on security matters and other issues of national significance, among them the delivery of government services and the sharing of Somalia's resources, puts us on a track to achieve this objective. Its realization will fuel the government's drive for greater national unity and cohesion. In tackling the security situation then in Somalia, we all know, proven elsewhere, that a military approach must be combined with an effective political strategy if we are to sustain gains made in Somalia. Political strategy includes good governance, includes job creation, includes tackling all corruption-related issues, bringing young and women and youth, everyone into a government, and allocating resources in a fair and transparent manner to ensure that the trust of the people lies with the government, and the government is seen as an alternative to everything else that the system knows. Therefore, our administration is focused on not only investing in the necessary resources in our security sector, but also interdependence on security and all other sectors. After 27 years of conflict, our people are now exhausted. They are demanding more from their leaders. They are awake and they now demand for effective and able leadership, the demand for governance and representation on the regional and global arena. They want Somalia to be relevant outside the world. We don't take this responsibility lightly and intend on providing an alternative. That is why we are now implementing the new national security plan for Somalia and security architecture. It is a project that includes security, project that ensures that we engage with all stakeholders on equally inclusive political dispensation that levels the playing field for all actors. That would mean regulating and legislating political parties in the next 18 months, finalizing and completing our constitution while consulting everyone who wants to be and ready to be consulted in the country, ensuring that there is a prospect for one man, one vote election for Somalia in 2020. On the economic front, our vision for our nation is guided by the National Development Plan, the first time in 30 years. We have started the implementation of this comprehensive blueprint for reconstructing our economy by investing in traditionally strong sectors such as agriculture, fishing, and livestock. But the National Development Plan also focuses on new sectors, namely the telecommunications sector, which we have now passed the first legislation in many years to regulate it, and the financial services sectors. Related to that is also the service delivery and creation opportunities for young people. We have already started a pilot project in my country aimed at employing thousands of young people across the country to give them hope and sense of purpose in life. But all that won't be meaningful without taking measurable steps in tackling key problems such as corruption. To talk about corruption is no longer a myth in Somalia. People see it as a priority. We talk about it openly, and we think it's part of defeating terrorism. To tackle corruption is part of our strategy to defeat terrorism and to give our people hope. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, as I indicated in the beginning, the people of Somalia have a spirit that you cannot find anywhere else, as witnessed by their resilience in times of difficulty. It extends to their enterprising nature. It is that spirit and that mindset that sets the Somalis apart and will prove to be the greatest resources in our economic development. It is a priority, therefore, of my government to cultivate this great reservoir of talent and industriousness by creating a conducive operating environment across Somalia, allowing them and their enterprises to flourish. The role of the Somali youth is imperative, and it is return to prosperity and peace. Alongside the youth, the involvement and participation of women in a democratic Somalia and its politics and governance is even more indispensable. As the women of Somalia have faced the difficult choices that came with violence and poverty, women are equipped to bind together the fibers of a durable society. More than ever in Somalia's history, the youth and women are represented in parliament and now in the cabinet. The women and youth in Somalia have not only invested their faith in today's government, but they have become active participants in it. I am confident that with their participation and guidance, Somalia will prosper. Distinguished guests, faculty and students, the government has not lost sight of the tremendous task that's ahead, nor has it lost sight of the confidence that the people of Somalia have placed in it. Though the journey ahead is fraught with challenges, there is also shining a light of hope. This government's agenda will leave no stone unturned in pursuing a better life for the people of Somalia. Somalia's triumphant return to the global and international nations is inevitable today. We ask the world to see Somalia through the same eyes with which we see ourselves, of unity, peace, and prosperity. It is this confidence in the future that motivates me and my colleagues, and I am confident that this future is within grasp. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, thank you very much. So I'm going to, if I may, ask you.
Yeah.
So I will take the chair's prerogative and start with one question, and then we'll go to our colleagues in the audience. Your Excellency, I don't think that anybody would disagree with the vision you've laid out for Somalia, for peace, prosperity, and I suspect there's probably not much disagreement and debate about the broad themes about how you do it. Focus on job creation, the importance of security and whatnot. If I may ask a provocative question, there are those who might say that all sounds nice, but Somalia has been at war, just coming out of war for 30 years. There are other parts of the world that have similarly come out of civil war and have not been able to fundamentally transform themselves, while there are some countries that have. And so what more concrete evidence can you give about why either businesses or political partners or whatever should think that somehow this time is different in terms of what, in terms of the ability of the Somali people to actually finally turn their page on their history?
Thank you. Number one, I think a lot of people who follows the Somali progress underestimate the fact that how resilient our people are. Just imagine any other nation on the globe without a government, without a functioning government for more than 25 or 20 years. Just imagine that. Yet you have a nation, not only that have managed to survive, but you have businesses that are thriving, that are still showing a progress that many nations with governments hasn't managed to show. The second element is that today you have a situation where, number one, the Shababs are being weakened, or the terrorists, not because of a military, but because of ideology. We are winning the war on ideology. We're winning the war on terrorism simply because we are providing good governance. We're promoting accountability. We're building trust. Today, it is different because our youth and children and women and everyone is excited by their government. Everyone has become the guardians of their government. Today, there is a sense of hope, sense of direction that the country sees. We understand that things are moving towards the right direction. We understand that we all have collective responsibility, and we need to ensure that we work for all the people of Somalia. That's why today, when our eyes are open, when our future is within grasp, in turning the page, that two things are important for us. That first, our youth and our people in Somalia first understand their history, as I started in my remarks. But the second, the world understands us, who we are, understand also the potential of a nation. And the final point is that we understand Somalia for what it is, a country with vast resources, with a lot of potential, with a strategic geographical location, with linkage on religions and cultures across the world, which has a lot to offer the world. We see that. We are no longer a nation that thinks we need handouts and support. We understand and we see the importance of our nation, and with that spirit, we want to build a new Somalia.
Thank you very much, Excellency. We will now go to room for questions. Let me give you two basic ground rules for how we do Q&A. The first is, when you are called on, please state your name and your affiliation. Please ask your question. Please don't make a statement, please ask a question. If you have difficulty turning a statement into a question, I would be more than happy to assist you in that regard. The second issue is that at the Elliott School, I have a rule when I'm doing lectures and Q&As, and that rule is gender balance between questions. So we will have a lady and then a gentleman, and a lady and a gentleman. We will start with the ladies. Ladies, the floor is yours to ask the question. Yes, please.
My name is Lexi Costa, I'm an Elliott student. So my question is in reference to Al-Shabaab. We've seen a lot of defections recently from the high ranks. Do you think that defections are because one of their tactics for retention are their ideology, and you're winning now on ideology, so defectors are becoming more common?
So the question is, why are people defecting from Al-Shabaab? Is it because the ideology is changing, or is there some other factor or something?
They're defecting simply because, as I've said, our strategy is working. The last defection you've seen is one of the founders of Al-Shabaab, one of the top leaders of Al-Shabaab. And the reason he has defected, he hasn't defected 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 6 years ago. He's defected now because he understands, one, there is a serious government, and second, the Somali people are serious in fighting Shabaab. He also understood, so is the many others who are defecting and those who will defect in the future, that they have lost, and they're losing the war on religion and ideology. The question is, they have no longer moral ground for distorted ideas and misleading our youth, because there are many other religious scholars who are out there telling the Somalis what our religion is. There's nowhere in our religion that promotes Shabaab, hatred and terrorism. Our religion is a peaceful religion that unites and brings people together, that opens doors for people whom you know and whom you don't know. And that is a change that we see in our country. That if their reality was to force people through religious ideology, that is no longer working. But we need to make sure that people see us as an alternative. We need to create jobs for our unemployed. We need to make sure people feel that they're owners of their government. We need to provide services to people. We need to show them that we are building roads and bridges and investing in infrastructure, that people see that they have better life with the government. Tackling poverty is the best way of defeating terrorism and Al-Shabaab. That is a strategy we've embraced. We don't think fighting and bombs is the only answer to defeating them. And I think what you've seen now is a testimony that our government's policies have started to work. And that is what we would want the world to know and to rally behind and support us.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
Hello, my name is Max, and I'm a student here at the Elliott School. I'd like to thank you for being here with us. And you mentioned bringing in more businesses to Somalia to create opportunities for youth and people who would otherwise be disenfranchised. A lot of times when, especially larger international businesses, such as telecommunications, as you mentioned, come in, that opens up new opportunities for corruption. So you mentioned the legislation that was passed, but I'm curious if you could talk about the specifics of what your government is doing to ensure that?
Very good question. Thank you. I want to start first by saying when everything else, a lot of things in my country were destroyed, the business community in my country was most of the time and always intact, because they had one thing that was missing in many other sectors. They had trust in themselves. They could trust one another, and that trust is what promoted their businesses to grow and thrive, even in a situation where you had a government that wasn't functioning. Today, when you see a telecom bill passed, it was part of our strategy for us to rebuild the trust between the government and its people, including the business community. When the telecom bill was passed, or the process, they were part of it in passing that. They know it entails of paying higher taxes when that is passed. But it is in itself a testimony that they have accepted to the fact that they want to contribute bigger to the government. That in itself is a concrete step for us to demonstrate that things are moving towards the right direction. In terms of corruption, they have also been part of us passing the anti-corruption bill. The reason they have also, the business community, supported our government to pass the telecoms bill is that they have seen their leaders are serious when it comes to tackling corruption. But to tackle corruption itself, you need to create strong institutions that caters for that. You need to have a fiscal discipline. You need to have economy that favors the majority of the people. You need to build a nation that is motivated so that people see that it is everyone's responsibility to support in the effort in tackling corruption. So it is no longer a taboo issue in my country to talk about corruption. In fact, people know that what our government demands is an accountability. And the most important aspect of it is that the ordinary citizens are now watching its leaders. They're looking at us. They're testing us, ourselves. And the media in Somalia is as open, as transparent as it is here. We sometimes like to call them fake news, but but to be perfectly frank, it is a free media in my country where people can express. In that country that you have an idea about, where people associate with violence and terror, freedom of speech compared to many other nations is unmatched, and it is the reality.
Ladies.
Hello, my name is Giovanna Dung, and I'm a master's student at the LA School of International Affairs. I have a question about the recent extradition of an officer of the Ogaden National Liberation Front that currently caused a lot of unrest in the public sector. And I wanted to know, how do you plan to make these tough decisions and pursue your ambitious plan while still maintaining the support of the popular people of the population?
So thank you for that very easy question about the ONLF the relationship. Your Excellency.
No, thank you very much. And I take note of the last part of your question, where you say, how do you deal with the opposition groups to make sure that you focus on your strategy? Any government who functions without opposition will feel itself in a position where it is complacent. For us to have a position that questions our decisions from time to time, it is part of the democratic institutions that we're building. But ultimately, it is the leaders of the nation who is responsible for the national security of that country, who sets an agenda, puts a strategy, and leads the nation towards a structure where we think it takes the nation to a prosperous situation. So yes, as you see here in America, where you have a lot of opposition debating on the states of your country, so is also my country. And it is also as it is here, every major decision that is made is questioned, is scrutinized. We are ready because we want unwilling people to join the formation of our government, of the formation of a nation that tolerates different opinions, different opposition, different groups. It won't be the first time you see this. There is another agenda people back home today are debating, which maybe is far more complex even the one you talk about. But these are what will make us better leaders. We need to tolerate each other, and we need to make sure that we need to listen to each other, especially when we disagree.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
Hello, sir. I'm Sam Winston. I'm a student at the LA School. My question relates to the elections that you were speaking of in 2020. And I know state preferred most any elections in Democratic state rely heavily on the trust of the people for the validity of the election itself. And how do you plan on ensuring that these elections are not only valid and are itself valid, but seem valid to the people? How do you build the trust?
No, thank you, and it is a very, very valid and important question. Ultimately, for us, that is on political process and democracy, that is our final destination. To make sure that it is the ordinary citizens in our country that decides, and not the few political elite that I am one of them, and my colleagues, we are here. Our biggest test now is how to move this nation forward, and it is not, the problem is not moving from where we are today, A, and getting into B. The challenge is in the distance in between. The formation process of these political structures, bringing people together and to agree on an election strategy, an election model. And that in itself is transferring power from us to the people. And it needs political, security, economic, communication strategies all combined. Our plan is to, one, make sure that we have first political parties, to ensure that there is a power-sharing political agreement between the federal government and federal member states and the Somalis, the wider Somali society. Three, agree on any outstanding issues and create a conducive environment for the major cities and small cities and towns in the country to make sure that people have access to exercise their voting rights. So we need to first take the steps that we are taking. How do we ensure that our votes are counted all the time, or most of the times as it happens in some countries? Our plan is to make sure that we take all these steps, we have free and fair elections that invite the rest of the world to come and witness. Once we reach there, and I am certain we will one day, once we reach there, then we've reached the ultimate formation of the Somali nation we are all looking and aspire to seek.
I think we have time for two, maybe three questions. We'll see. Ladies, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Faith Bugar. I'm a graduate student at the Elliott School. Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. My question is, with the current repatriation of Somali refugees voluntarily, are there any policies in place to tackle their reintegration?
So the question, obviously, with regard to reintegration of the 500,000 plus Somali refugees coming back home, how do you actually, as an immense challenge, how do you?
No, exactly. We first, every Somali refugees, wherever they are, they have the right to come back to the cities and have the same access and political rights and economic rights we in Somalia have. Yes, our government has a strategy, and we work with the international community and the UN to ensure that they have the necessary structures ready for them when they come back home. Do we have the necessary resources to support them? That is another question. Have we created a conducive environment where refugees outside Somalia today can say, maybe I want to go back home and take part of rebuilding my nation? Yes, we have. And to me, that in itself, when people voluntarily say that I'm leaving country A back home, and many of them come back to us, and they take part of the rebuilding of nation. Remember, refugees have a term, that refugee. It doesn't necessarily mean they are refugees. They are people who have left their country, but with a lot of resources, who can support their country when they come back. And that sense of feeling that you want to go back home now, and not last year or the year before or 5 or 10 years ago, and now, when you put all these things together, despite all the challenges, security, economic, social, otherwise, it also adds to the hope that we have to restore and to rebuild the nation. We hope, therefore, as I've said, the international community will see Somalia with our own eyes and cater for the priorities we set for as a nation. That includes also, as we've put a strategy down, how to cater for the people who are returning home.
Gentlemen? Right back. So I can wait for the microphone.
Thank you. Achilles Rakinas for the Embassy of Greece here in DC. Your Excellency, we have witnessed in the past years a significant decline in pirate activity off the coast of Somalia, and I was wondering whether you could provide some insight regarding your government's policy into maintaining the success in collaboration, of course, with the United States and your European partners. Thank you.
The pirates and the success that we've made as a nation has contributed to where we are today as a nation. And we have a very close relationship with our partners, either they are the Americans, but more so with the European Union, who have been providing extensive support. And our now strategy with them is that as part of rebuilding the Somali National Army and its Coast Guards, we have now a strategy that is part of the national security architecture, of which we are implementing in the next 24 months, to have a force that is catered for and capable of protecting our sea, and generally replacing the forces of the EU and other nations who've been providing support and service to us. We are grateful to not only the Europeans and the Americans, but the NATO forces, who all of them came to our aid at the highest peak of the pirates. But remember, we need to also address the root cause of the piracy itself. And the root cause is that the young people who initially started off as looking for a better life. There were young people who were in despair, looking for an opportunity. And that is why, in order for us to avoid criminality, in order for us to have citizens who are contributing to the society, we need to build a system that caters for them. That is why we need to invest in the economy, create jobs, and create hope for these young people, either they are in the capital or elsewhere. Ultimately, therefore, the strategy that I've laid down, which is to have a comprehensive strategy that tackles security, economic growth, deals with poverty, deals with a nation that has democratic institutions, that everyone feels comfortable that we have all set shared beliefs and value, which is our nation's values, is what ultimately would help us guide us through. And finally, we've been communicating with the Somali people, and there have been programs on the problems on piracy and all this. The other issue now we're still having problems is the issue still of migration, where a lot of people of Somalia leave our country and die in different seas. Simply, they're looking for better opportunity. Creating better conditions for their country in itself is saving the world. For our partners around the globe who are also worried for migration, whose policies in these days are, let's support them at home, we are ready. Come and work with us.
I'm going to give the final question to Ambassador Mogul.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I thought before you leave, if you could tell us about the role of AMISOM. This is the African Union peacekeeping mission, and in your national security architect, whether you have a strategy, what we call exit strategy, phasing out when you're saying you are winning through the ideology. So I really wanted to know the role of AMISOM and the future of AMISOM. Thank you.
You are now seated next to the defense minister, so I thought.
I didn't know I was contaminated.
I thought you provided all the answers by sitting next to you. First, I want to acknowledge our brothers and sisters, the African Union troops, AMISOM. We have to also understand it has become one of the most successful missions in the history. It is they are our neighbors, they are our brothers, they are our sisters, and they're the ones who paid the ultimate sacrifice. 10 years ago, we couldn't have this discussion. We are having this discussion today, largely, mostly thanks to them. That is the role of AMISOM. In terms of the way forward and the long-term strategy, we are working hand in hand. We are not competing, we are complementing one another. The success of Somalia now is a pride that Africa can show, and African peacekeeping also can refer to in the many years to come. Therefore, not only have they supported Somalia, but I think they have drawn new history, all of us, of which I think we can learn from. In terms of us as a nation moving forward, the only viable way forward is to have functioning Somali National Army, and they're supporting us on that. We are now having a strategy with AMISOM, not only on the drawdown on the way forward, but how the Somali National Army will be in a position to keep that game and to rebuild and promote, so that the progress they've made becomes part of their history, as it is our history. And I think we have a lot of successes we can refer to. So as leaders, we are very proud of the work they have done, and we're very grateful, and we will forever remain grateful. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me also congratulate all of you for doing such a good job of making statements into questions. not make statements themselves. And let me actually ask your indulgence in one more bit of instruction, and that is to please remain seated until Secret Service is asked. We ask everybody to please stay in place, as His Excellency departs the room. And one last thing, Your Excellency, if you will accept a small token of friendship from the Elliott School. I told His Excellency that I was trying to get some camel's milk, which is typical Somali drink. Couldn't find any, but at least you have an Elliott School gift. So,
Thank you very much.